My connection to the hall is I've worked at linkage at Wheelsby for 21 years. I was just a support worker when I first started, and then I was later a senior learner assistant, and I'm currently a support worker, also a team teach trainer as well. So as a support worker, I obviously on a day-to-day basis I support one-to-one with the learners in the classroom, assisting them on any things they need in the classroom, or at break times, at lunch times, if they need certain social support around their friends and their peer group. And as a team teach trainer, I teach across the board for all sites of linkage. We specialise in de-escalation techniques, and obviously there's some physical techniques that we have to have as well, but it's mainly to de-escalate situations. So the physical techniques don't need to be used. Yes, I'd say quite big changes. When I first started at linkage, which was 2004, we had the majority of our students were from out of county, so they were from all over the country, and we currently had, well, we had at that time, I'd say about 13 training houses based in around the Grimsby area, and obviously Taunton had various numbers of training houses as well. So we had students coming from London, Sheffield was a big one for us, Middlesbrough and Tyneside, that area, just generally from all over the country. But obviously, as time's progressed, the funding's changed slightly with local authorities and people funding outside of county. So as we are now, we mainly have day students that come into us and access the college 3 days a week. But back then, a lot of the learners, I think there was 16 to 18 learners living in the main hall when I first started. Yeah. And obviously we had Wheelsby View and 161 across the road. So we had lots of learners that were living in our training houses. And I used to work in those training houses as well, because I had a certain amount of care hours that I would go and work in the training houses, and then the rest of my hours would be filled in college. My dad used to work here for 27 years, Gareth Howard. My first impressions of linkage and Wheelsby Hall would be when I would come and see him when I was a little boy. I would come and see him maybe after, when he'd finished work, we'd come and pick him up and stuff like that. And occasionally, if he was on call, we might come and see him at a weekend, or if there was a trip going on, sometimes he would bring me in. So I would get to see a lot of learners that he worked with. But my first impressions, obviously coming up to the Wheelsby Hall, was just what a beautiful place it was. It was huge. From when I was, just a young boy, it was just, I'd never seen a stately home like this, especially not in the Grimsby area. So it was just out of this world, really, to see the grandeur of the place. It was amazing. I'd say they were just really fond memories. And, I don't want to sound too sentimental, but it was like when I came back as an adult, when I was obviously working here, it was like I'd just returned home, really, because obviously I was so used to the place. It was just a home from home for me, really, when I came back. And obviously it was a different situation because I was actually working here, but it just felt right when I returned to work here. I have, yes. So actually, I was actually born in the hall because I was a premature baby and my mum was still working at the time. And also, mum and dad weren't married, so mum's maiden name was Slight. So if we look at it technically, I was born a Slight until obviously I was registered at birth, but I think there's only ever been 2 Slights born at the hall on the premises. One of them was Michael Slight, who obviously had the hall before linkage, and obviously myself. But also, obviously, because I was premature and it was quite traumatic for sort of my parents, and my dad decided to give me the middle name Wheelsby, so my middle name is Wheelsby, so it's another connection that I have with the Hall that I'm quite proud of. I think she must be distantly, because I think it was a prominent name in Grimsby. Yeah. And obviously I think Mum's grandparents were obviously from a seafaring background, fishermen, so possibly distantly. I'd like to think so, maybe. That just, enhances the connection and the specialty for me. Really? When I first started working at Linkage at the Hall, everyone that kind of worked here, because there was no Mackenzie building in those days, it was just, the Hall was it was the hub of the college. It was, the epicentre of everything. We had a few sort of mobile classrooms outside and obviously horticulture, but everything else functioned in here. Was ICT class in here, and the hospitality course was run from here. So everyone that worked in the Hall was, they were really proud of the Hall and where they worked, and they took great pride in it. And obviously me being, I think I was only 18 when I started, a lot of the staff that had been here quite a long time would tell me various things about the Slight family. And obviously I learned obviously about how the tower was built, so George Slight could see his trawlers coming in. And they told me about obviously the famous Italian painter that painted the ceiling in the lounge.
What were you told about that?
Just that he was a famous travelling, I don't know if it was a travelling Italian painter or he'd been specifically booked to paint the ceiling, but they, obviously the way they told it, I could see it was quite a big deal at the time. And obviously George Slight had a lot of money, because he had the biggest fleet in Europe at one time. And I think, they were one of the most prominent families in Europe at the time. Just the day-to-day hustle and bustle was amazing. Obviously I used to come here and I would work on a Saturday morning, and a lot of the time I would work in the kitchen. So the students wouldn't access the kitchen in those days in the Hall because it was a big industrial kitchen. So they would come to the serving hatch, and I would serve the breakfasts. So I would, get to pass the time of day with all the students, and they would all be sort of coming down in dribs and drabs because as it was the weekend, obviously they didn't have college to get up for, so they would just get up as they please. And then we'd obviously go out and do various things. If they wanted to go to town, then we'd go to town, or if they wanted to go and watch Grimsby Town, we'd go and do that, or anything they wanted to do, really. I remember obviously, we still have them now, but we used to have like fun days on the field where all the training houses would come together and all the staff would be together. I remember a really good game of rounders one time that just sort of, it seemed to go on forever. Staff versus students game of rounders on there, and just everyone joining in, and members of staff that you probably think, well, they probably wouldn't want to join in, then they used to join in, and it was just loads of fun. Zoe Proctor and Zoe Lewis used to put on some amazing shows, and obviously Lucy went on to put on some great shows, and obviously what Jessica Harris is doing as well with her shows. But yeah, they've always been, they've always brought the house down. Yeah. There's challenges every day. Obviously, we've got to make it the happiest and, the funnest place for our learners to achieve their goals and their independence. And sometimes that's, not always easy because they maybe have obstacles that they need to overcome. And so sometimes it has been challenging that way when we've seen students that have got great potential, but maybe they've got other obstacles in place. But the team that I've worked with, or all the team that I've worked with over the years, they've always been really supportive to me and the other staff, and obviously supportive to the learners. And I think, 99.9% of the learners that have walked away from Linkage have got more rich and fulfilling lives. Just great memories of of just working with various staff members here. I mean, some are no longer with us, and it's just I've learned so much from so many people, and every day is just, but every day is a learning day for me. I've been here 21 years, but I still feel like I've just got loads to learn every single day. But I think I've learned so much from the staff. Some of the staff have been absolutely brilliant with me, giving the experience and opportunities to go on and do things. It's like I went to Slovenia one time. It's probably a place that I would have never probably gone. And I went there for a football tournament. Me and Jason Land, we took some learners over for a football tournament there. That was brilliant. That was great memories of that. But also I've learned lots from the learners as well. Yeah. They've taught me lots in patience, humility, kindness, endeavour. It's been amazing. They've helped me find myself, because when I came to Linkage, I'd been sort of through a bit of a rocky patch. I'd dropped out of college and wasn't really sure where I was going with my life. And I think in many ways Linkage kind of saved me a little bit because I was quite a sensitive, timid person, and it brought me out of myself. And I think the learners helped me do that, because they were so kind to me. They never judged me, and they helped me sort of find my true potential, really.